Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of Saturday Shoutouts in the Thrive Tribe. Super excited today about my guest who just got a new role. We'll find out more about that in a minute, but I'd like to welcome without further ado, Davinder. Welcome.
Thank you. How are you?
Thank you. I'm very good. How are you?
Very good. I love these sessions that you put on, by the way.
Oh,
Very,
thank you.
very
I
cool.
love them too. I love hearing everybody's story. Isn't it fun? And I
Very
love
much.
just, you look so high tech right there with those two TVs. Like, you look like you're, the head of a tech company or something right there.
Looks can be deceiving, right? Just kidding.
So, how do we know each other?
You know what? We got a little choppy there. I didn't hear the last part of the sentence. What did you say? Sorry.
Oh, how do we know each other?
So we met, I don't know if you remember, because you had a full house. It was the AXA mini conference. And the initial one, I didn't get a chance to join. And then there was a follow-up. I went there and I really enjoyed listening to you about social emotional learning for students and supporting students. So that's where I first saw you. I had seen your name on different flyers and whatnot. I'm like, who is this lady? Joelle heard. And so I had
Who's this
heard great,
crazy lady?
yeah. And the initial session that I had missed, I had heard great things about you, like, oh, it's really good. We need to have her come back. And that's what prompted me to go back. I'm like, I'm going to go listen to her. And it was everything what everyone was saying. Very, very engaging is what it was.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And tell us
Mhm.
a little bit about you personally.
So I'm married for 28 years, and my husband's a farmer. I have three kiddos. My oldest son has been married for about a year. His wife's name is Amrat, and Devin is my youngest. He's a sophomore in college. I started my teaching career in '93 in Cremon Unified, and I went to Fresno Unified in '96. But in the last 22 years with Fresno Unified, I carried out my role there as a teacher, a vice principal, program manager in elementary and middle school. And I was a principal at Fouchard Elementary for 9 years. And the last 3 years, I was at the district office working with the instructional superintendents. Came to America in 1987 as this bright-eyed, excited 18-year-old. Couldn't wait to come to this country, Joelle, I tell you. As far as my memory can serve me, I wanted to come to America and just be part of this. I don't know what it was at the time in terms of what is America, right? You coming from another country. It's just very, very exciting for me to come here and start a new life. And that was back in '87. And I've been here since. And I just love everything about what this country affords us in terms of being able to do what we want to do and serve. Yeah.
And I mean, it's such a cool story. What memory do you have of England, of growing up there? That was the good memory, and maybe that was the memory that said, "I want to come to America."
Um, wow. So all my dad's side of the family is in England. My dad immigrated to England from Punjab, India in the early 60s, late 50s. And so all of my first cousins are over there. I was born and raised in a town called Birmingham. It's the second largest city in England. So I'm a Brummie in it.
Nice.
The fun thing about England is that by region, there's this different accent that pops up. So Birmingham has a different accent. If you're from London, has a different accent, and Liverpool, so on and so forth. So yeah, I'm from Birmingham, and what prompted me to come to America. So the time when my parents emigrated to England, there's a lot of mass immigration from Commonwealth countries to England. And the Caribbean, Jamaica, Bangladesh, Pakistan, India. And so at the time, this melting pot is an area where we immigrated to. And so I grew up with a lot of adversity and a lot of experience in terms of racism, folks not knowing how to embrace this new multicultural England that was being formed back in the 60s and 70s, yeah. And so it was struggle. It was a struggle. And on top of it, I'm second generation Punjabi. My mom and dad are trying to hold on to their roots in terms of, hey, so we're from Punjab, India, and you need to be raised as this, traditional home of having very specific cultural expectations of how they want to raise me and make sure I'm this project of, we raised her right so we can ship her off when she's married off. And so we did our, we raised her right. And if you remember that one line from my big fat Greek wedding, and the mom's like, the whole family's together, and they're like, well, I raised her right. It's this ideology that my parents carried in their head of how they were going to instill the culture in me, kind of transfer it over. So it was really hard growing up as a second generation. Like, you went to school and you were British. You went back home and you were Punjabi. And so living in two different cultures is very hard. On top of it, there was this, social emotional challenge in terms of like, so why are some people really mean and like not accepting folks that were born here but looked different? So coming to America, just growing up in American television just really inspired me. I would look at the American flag, Joelle, and think, I want to go there one day. I don't know what it is. I used to watch Charlie's Angels, Starsky and Hutch, Chips. Right? I'm like, that looks so cool. And when I came here, I came to the Central Valley. I'm like, where's the beach? There's no beach. So,
no beach.
Yeah.
Well, there is. You have to go over the coast. It's just not right in front.
Lots of grapes and lots of almonds. So
yes,
that's how I got here. I never looked back.
So I want to hold on to that story because it's so fascinating to me. And what I want you to do is tell us a little bit about your professional life, where you've been and where you just arrived. And then I'd love for you to tie in how that experience, that story that you just told, how that colors your perspective in your work, in the work that you do.
Wow.
So that's a lot. That's a big question, but can you do that?
Yeah, no. That's a very good question. I really am honored to be able to serve currently. So my first year that I'll be serving with Selma Unified School District as their assistant superintendent. And what has allowed me to get here, Joelle, is I really started building this muscle of emotional intelligence about 7-8 years ago. And what I needed to do as an adult was understand my own self in my own social emotional learning. And I'll just say that when I became the principal at Wishon Elementary in 2006, I was very focused on the academics and carrying out the professional learning for my staff. And if anyone's listening, any one of them are listening, they would agree with me. Yeah, Davinder, we were very hyper focused on that. Like about 3 years into it, it just didn't feel right. And it felt like, and if you've ever been in that situation where, you're having a dinner party, right? So you've got the food going, you've got all this centerpieces, and the food presentation looks good. You've all dressed up and you look good, and like, okay, my guests are coming, and then you serve your guests, and then everyone goes home. It's like, well, I didn't really enjoy my evening, but you did all of those like tactical things. That's what it felt like. So I was a principal. I was carrying out all the right things, but yet I wasn't in it. I wasn't present. And that's when I really started developing my muscle around understanding myself. And I started learning more about my own trauma growing up as a child, as an adult, coming to America, and really peeling back those layers. And I just read lots of different books that helped me understand myself better, and just really developing the emotional intelligence muscle, getting to know myself better, and understanding how my behavior would impact others. And as we work with others in teams, and as we know, any work that we're doing is done through people and is done through teams. And so just really becoming more and more aware of that, self-aware, and building that muscle, and getting feedback from my colleagues at the time too. He used to give me feedback, and I'm going to say I've been very blessed where I could then become more and more vulnerable and ask questions. How am I doing in this? And just really being very cognizant and actively working in that area. And I can say that because I did, and I started working on my own emotional intelligence. I didn't even know what it was called at the time. That was emotional intelligence. I learned about it like 3-4 years ago, but that's what I was doing. I didn't know that's what it was called.
You're doing personal development. Really.
There you go. There you go.
Personal.
Right. And then just really understanding, Joelle, that by me knowing myself better, it impacted not only how I was presenting myself, and then in teams, and self-regulating and knowing how to understand other people's personalities and different traits, and paying attention to that, and how we are going to, I'm going to use a word, through the lens of compassion. It's the only way I can put it. Just really, really being present and being mindful. And when I'm in different teams, and I really think that by building that muscle, where I've been, what I've been doing when I've been in America, and where I'm currently, I just really look forward to creating the conditions, is what Simon Sinek talks about, right? So a leader's role is to be able to create conditions for those. And then again, just because I'm a big fan of his, he talks about leaders are, and I'm trying not to butcher the quote, but something along the lines that we are not in charge of others, but we have to take care of those in our charge.
Exactly.
And so
that's
right?
Pretty close. That's pretty close to the quote.
It's pretty close, right? And so yeah. So how do we're not in charge of others, but we are to take care of those in our charge. Excuse me. I ate a peanut before I came on here. And so that's really my charge to myself as I work interdependently with my new team members, as I support sites and at the district office, and just really super excited to be able to continue to grow and learn, and again, help create those conditions so that the staff can carry out their work. Excuse me.
I think, yeah, please take care of yourself. I think that is so valuable. All of the things that you just said, and especially when you touched on vulnerability. I was just talking to a group of leaders the other day, and I said, we are often taught to not let others see our vulnerability. We have to be strong all the time. But research is clear that vulnerability, sharing your vulnerability, builds trust. If you share your vulnerable and I share my vulnerability, then now we have a bond. And I think the more that leaders can understand that and be authentic, and they're just their real selves, they give permission for other people to do the same. And when we don't trust, then we're afraid to ask for help because we don't want to look less than, and so we go along acting like we know our job, but we may not, right? And so they're so lucky to have you there, and to just bring that piece to it. Let me ask you this: in your very busy life, being an educator, being a mom, being a wife, what do you do to take care of your own well-being?
Well, that's a very important question. I encourage anyone that's listening, exercise. I exercise every day. I read. I'm an avid reader. That self-reflection is so key. Just to slow down the mind and take that step back. Whatever time of day works for you. For me, typically it's in the morning, and definitely exercising, walking, running, jogging, whatever the case may be. And then to really take care of me, I Netflix binge.
Nice. What's been on your list lately?
Oh gosh, I love The Crown. I watch The Crown. And Peaky Blinders is really cool. If you haven't had a chance to watch,
I've not seen that. What is that about?
It's really cool. It's made in my hometown, Birmingham, Tipton. And it's based in the early 1900s of a family that's struggling. It's let's just say, when you're rooting for the bad guy, it's done well. Right?
Nice.
So it's good entertainment.
Speaking of Birmingham, isn't that where Duran Duran was from? I'm pretty sure they were from Birmingham.
I know UB40 was. I don't know about Duran Duran. Yeah.
I'll have to look into my old things and see.
That says something about aging us, right? With Simon Le Bon and that whole lot.
Oh yeah, I have my picture with Simon Le Bon. I got to meet him in another life. Maybe I'll post that in the comments below, then you can see that. Anyways, so let me ask you a couple of questions.
Uh-huh.
I have a table topics jar that has questions. First, it has a statement that is some research fact that promotes happiness, and the other side has a question. So the first one is a quote by William Faulkner. It says, "Plenty of people miss their share of happiness, not because they never found it, but because they didn't stop to enjoy it." And you kind of you shared a few of these just now in talking about your well-being, but the question is, what are your biggest pleasures? So what are some other things besides Netflix and running and reading that you love to do?
I love my family. I love my family. I love my friends. I love to socialize. I love to talk about life. I love to talk, I philosophize how we can make a difference in the world. Social justice is a topic that I can talk till 2 o'clock in the morning until. Those are simple things like just, and then how I can help others. I have a couple of rituals that I learned from my mom and dad. Every Sunday, my mom and dad used to pull out this black book with all the phone numbers in it. And dad used to sit down and he used to spend at least 2 hours every Sunday and touch base with everybody.
I love that.
And, yeah, and then my mom, the same thing. And then back then used to have this long cord and used to be kind of stuck to the wall because you didn't have, cordless phones. And now we have WhatsApp, we have cell phones, so on and so forth. But I remember mom and dad doing that, and I didn't have any idea of what they were doing other than, okay, mom and dad are not available for the next couple of hours, and we're going to go mess around and have at it, right? With my brothers and sisters, we would be fighting. Like, they're not available, so we can do whatever we want. But now I so appreciate how he made it a point to actively stay connected. And that's very important, and that's near and dear to my heart. I take a mental check of who have I not reached out to lately. And that's really important for as I'm getting older in age, I'm going to be 50 next year. I know I'm pretty young. But then I look
50's young. 50's young.
50's all young, right? But I do look at, like, my mom's getting older, and then I look at my, like I was sharing, my son celebrated his first wedding anniversary, and he's going to be turning 28. And I'm like, so how do I ensure that my family stays connected? It's very, very important. But yeah, I do that for fun. And when my family is happy, I'm happy. If they're struggling, then I'm struggling. And same for my friends. I'm very blessed to have a good circle of good friends that I know don't judge me. I don't like to judge, and I don't want others to judge me. And I think it's really important to accept people where they are, however they are, and live and love. And what's the other word? Adage is that
live and laugh.
Live and.
Oh. I think we got frozen.
Yeah. So yeah, family is very, very important. Yes. I love animals too. We've got 3 dogs as well.
3 dogs? What kind?
3 dogs. We've got a pit bull and 2 Siberian Huskies, and they're just absolutely adorable.
Oh, nice. I love dogs too. Love them. I'm going to interrupt this happiness questions because I want to touch base back to something you said. You talked about both the importance of belonging that your father instilled in you and connection. And then also you talked about social justice.
Yes.
So how does that passion for those 2 things drive your passion in education? Like what is sort of your platform? They ask first ladies, what is your platform? So what is your platform in education?
For me, it goes back to what Dr. King said. Education is a great equalizer. It just is. And I want for every child what I wanted for my own 2 boys and what I want potentially for my future grandkids. Is that for every child, when they walk into a classroom, is that they get the best education, and that they graduate from high school. When they graduate from high school, that they have options. If they want to go to college, great. University, wonderful. They want to go into career technical education, that they have choices, that they have a place in the world where they feel they can contribute and do whatever that is in their heart's desire. And for families to feel that their children are on track to graduate. And again, for our young adults to feel, again, that they were in charge of their education and that they were involved, and they have a place in this beautiful big wide world, and they get to travel, and then they feel connected, and that there's a purpose for them, and for them to find their own purpose within them. That's really the platform that I want for every child, is for them to discover within themselves. The real purpose behind education is to contribute. And we're stewards, right? And we're stewards, and to allow them to see that we're all stewards carrying out our work forward.
I think one of the little phrases I like to say sometimes is live in purpose and on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the more we can connect kids to what their sense of their gift to the world is, then we not only help them as individuals, but we help make the world a better place.
Could you repeat that, please? We had a little bit of disconnect on the internet.
I was saying one of my phrases that I like to say is live in purpose and on purpose. And I think the more that we forget that a little bit in education. And the more that we can connect students with that, to what their talents, their strengths, their gift to the world is, and then not to forget it with the older kids, meaning the adults, and how to connect the work that they're doing, whether they're a secretary, a custodian, a teacher, a superintendent, with their own sense of purpose too, is priceless.
And Joelle, you mentioned social justice. That'll always be near and dear to my heart, just because I really feel that we are all, for us to really be involved with our civic duty, is to really pay attention and, again, develop that level of compassion for each other, and just nationally, internationally, and for our children to, again, as we live in a global economy, and as we have internet, right, there are not these lines that are drawn. They can instantaneously connect with whomever, whenever they want. And for our children, and for adults in general, to really be actively involved in doing what's right as we carve out our future for our children.
Absolutely. One last of these questions. It says, spend time doing things you're good at.
Mm-hmm.
And the question that I have for you is, what are your strengths? Like, what are your top 3 strengths that you bring to the world, bring to your work? Top 3.
All right. So one thing I'm really good at, and I love to do, is dance. I love to dance. That's the strength from the fun parts. So I'll give you some fun parts. You put the music on, I can't stop moving us. I just love music, period. Other strengths, I have a gift of bringing people together, and I it gives me joy when I'm in a group setting. Again, being able to harness that emotional intelligence, which is always there, I believe. I just needed to work on it myself, I guess, as I was growing up. But I love to entertain. I love to bring people together for a common purpose, if it's personally and professionally, towards a common purpose. So I'm tying it to the third piece here. My natural innate strength that I've been born with, I guess my dad used to say, and my mom as a young kid, because my dad was a businessman in England. And so he's an entrepreneurial. So I just watched him in business, and that business comes very naturally to me. And so being organized, prioritizing, and then just being a doer. Because I tend to decide what I'm going to do, and then I just do it. And then, I pray a lot. God, please help me with this. I'm going to do it, with, again, Simon Sinek would say massive amounts of effort with discipline, and you have to be resilient, right? Otherwise, as we fail and we move forward. And so that's the other strength I would say, is I'm pretty dedicated and committed to, no matter what I set my mind to, I typically will carry it out and just then ask the universe to help me get it done. Yeah.
I love it. I am visualizing, while you were talking, I was visualizing a party at your house where maybe about 20 people, and there'd be music playing, we'd be dancing, and then we'd sit in a circle and read excerpts of books and philosophize about deep, meaningful things. Wouldn't that be a great party at your house?
That would be a brilliant party. That's how parties typically roll out. We talk about everything under the sun.
I love it. So let me ask you this. I ask everyone the same question. The world needs to learn a lot, but if you could teach them just one thing, the one Davinder lesson, what would you want to teach the world?
Wow. Love unconditionally.
Hmm.
Love unconditionally. Don't judge when we see behavior. Try to understand what's going behind it, and don't judge. That's just it. Just love unconditionally. Understand each other. Understand why people behave the way they do, and get to know people's stories. And at times it's hard. It's very hard. But as we get to know ourselves too, and you take that step back, is all of us develop that muscle of just slowing down and yeah, just have more compassion.
I could not have said it better. All right,
Mm.
now comes the scary part. You get one question for me.
All right. So, Janelle, if money was never an issue, right?
Mhm.
And you had an abundance amount of funds around this, what is one hobby you would pick up?
Ooh, well, that's probably easy. That'd
Is
be
it?
well, for me, it would be travel. If money was no object,
Yeah.
I love to travel. I love
Mm,
people. I love
mm,
finding out stories. So literally, I would want to just travel. I love, and
mm,
I think I just read something recently about. Okay, I'm going to back up. My mom used to say all the time, and probably still says, that it's great to go away and it's great to come home.
yes.
And I read something about how travel can really instill that gratitude because it's so fun to travel and meet new people and see new things, but it does make you grateful again for your home. And so I think um, if money was no object, I would probably travel a week out of every month,
Mm.
and just go everywhere and see everything and learn everything, and then have the beauty of coming home.
Oh, I totally agree with you. And actually, that's one of the things I would do when I was thinking of what I was going to ask you. That would definitely be one on my bucket list. Is definitely just love to. I've got actually many countries I want to go visit. Cape Town being one of them in South Africa. It's like
I'd love to go there.
right, and so
Yeah.
you change and you grow when you're traveling. You appreciate where you're at even more so. And gosh, a few years ago we went to Australia. I'm like, where am I at? And just really appreciating everything even more in terms of not only how far away I am from home. If you look at the just perspective, when we look at how the um, maps are made, and then there's this upside down. Have you seen the New Zealand upside down map?
No.
It's really cool. And it's New Zealand's perspective of the world and how we normally see a map of where America, it's very Eurocentric in terms of how the map makers initially made the map. And it's totally different. I'll have to send it to you.
I would love to see it
Yeah.
because I was thinking as you were talking that travel does that. It lets
Mhm.
us. Sometimes it's easy uh, to have tunnel vision,
Mhm.
and another phrase, to live in an echo chamber where we think that where we are is the best just because this is all we know and where we live. And so it's good to see other perspective, to say, oh, thank goodness we don't do it that way, and
Yeah.
then I wish we did it a little more like that,
Yeah.
and to kind of just learn from everyone because everyone has a story and something to give.
Right.
Wow. Well, this has been a wonderful conversation with you. It's just like hanging out.
I
I'm ready for the party. I should have some dance music go
know.
out on. But,
Yeah.
thank you so much for being here and for doing this interview. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it. And
Joel,
oh,
no,
go
thank
ahead.
you. I really appreciate all of your posts that you put on the tribe section and the positive messages that you put on there. Great reminders. Thank you for what you're doing and all of the positive vibes that you're constantly sending out. So we thank you also. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. For
Yeah.
the rest of you, I'm going to come looking for you. I want to know your story. The rest of the Thrive Tribe wants to know your story. And so I'm going to message you, or you can message me and say, hey, I'm willing to be vulnerable and I'm willing to just chat with you and tell my story. So I hope to see you soon. For the rest of you, have a great rest of your Saturday. Bye. Peace.
Thank you. Bye bye.